Silicone doesn't stick to a lot of things except for itself. But just to make it easier to pull out, we're going to use we can either use this type of smooth-on universal mold release, or I often use, if I can't find that, I get this Stoner Zero Stick. It's a food gradable, great mold release. You can use either one, doesn't matter. I have more of this, so I'll use this one. Just kind of spray it in there just to kind of give it a little bit. Now we're getting ready to pour our silicone, so we're going to need to mix it. I just have a small scale I bought off of eBay. Has a 500 gram capacity, which we're not going to be using that much. And I like to try and keep it clean, so I just get a little Ziploc bag, and I just set it on top of it like that. And then I grab a cup for silicone, like that. The silicone I'm using is, it's called General Purpose Silicone. I buy it from Special Effects Supply Corporation, which is www.fxsupply.com. It has a catalyst which is blue. I think it comes in a green also, but I just use blue because that's what they carry. We're going to turn on our scale here so it clears it to 0. And what I do is I try and guesstimate about 150 grams of silicone for both ears. Sometimes it might take more, but I'm just going to go for that right now because I can always pour more on top. I hate to waste. So you go like this, 170, so I really overdid it, but that's okay. We'll just go right to there for now. And then it says 186 grams, so 10% of catalyst, which is 18.5. So I'll stay around 18, 17.5, works fine. Okay. Grab my trusty stick here and just slowly start mixing it until it's all mixed in. And I don't think it's enough to do both ears, but I'll do what I can, and then I'll mix some more. So grab an ear, and I'm going to pour it off to the edge a little bit here. And I'm also going to pour it kind of high. The reason is because then if you have a very fine stream, it actually eliminates air bubbles. So I'm going up pretty high out of the camera, and I'm just going to go ahead and pour like that. And I'm pouring it in the one corner only right now, and just keep going. I got some disposable brushes that I've picked up. Paint it into your detail. It's all settling in there really nice. You can see it's on both sides now of the ear, right? Which is great. That means it slowly filled it, which I'm hoping that I eliminate a lot of my air bubbles. Now I'll tilt it a little bit and keep it flowing to the back of the ear. Rock it back and forth a little bit. Let it coat that ear really well. And as it fills in those spots, but usually I get pretty good results, so that's why I do it like this, nice and slow. Let the ear just cover gently. Alright, so now the ear is totally covered. So now I can remove this piece, take this off. I can take my trusty popsicle stick, gently wipe it, because you don't want to get clay in your mold. Set that aside, and then I'll just top this off with the rest of the silicone. Looks like I just made enough to do one ear. So now I know how much to do for the other ear. So about 180 grams, 175, 180 grams. Pour it in there. So we'll set this aside. Pull this other ear out. So I have a little bit of silicone left, so I'm going to use it for this ear to start it. Also, I got my trusty brush again. I'm just going to paint on this ear a little bit, kind of break up some of the air bubbles if I can, if there are any inside the tuck. Now we're ready to pour the next batch. I did another 150 gram. I also changed my gloves because they were getting a little slimy. Slowly pour. I'm going to pour on this side now, because I can see there's a lot of overflow on the other side. I'm lifting up. I'm about 2 feet over my head now. Not over my head, but over the mold. It's looking really nice and clean. Now we have our molds done. The silicone that's on this clay, when it sets, I'll just peel it right off and I'll reuse the clay. And we'll come back to them in about 3-4 hours. We don't want to separate the silicone from the ear mold yet, because we want to be able to cast this still with plaster to make a mother mold over it. We want to get rid of this flashing around it, so I just take a knife, a pair of scissors, and just do a nice clean trim around it. And this one will do the same. And then we'll try and clear up the edges a little bit. Remember what we talked about, those little areas where the spillways went? Here's one right here, and one right here. I clean them up. There's a little bit of silicone that might have bled through. Pressing some clay against it, chopping it off. There's one. All right, we are ready for molding. So what I got here is some scrap styrene. I use it to make the walls around these things. See? So first of all, what we need to do is Vaseline this part. Just helps to get the clay up off of the piece. Not a lot, just a nice film. Now we're going to attach our wall. Now, because I've used these in the past, they don't stick very well if you use tape on them. Little tiny clips. These things. I just clip it. Clip it on the other side. And it makes a pretty nice little wall. Holds it up pretty good. Clip it. So that holds it pretty good. Now we'll fill these with plaster about 1 inch over the silicone. And then from there, we'll be able to have a nice little mold. I mixed up a batch of Ultracal 30. If you don't have Ultracal, you can use Hydrocal. It's not as strong, but it works just as good. I would not recommend using anything like plaster of Paris or anything. That's just way too soft and weak, and you will have a very brittle mold. I made sure that I got it in the little keys in the mold, and to know how high I get it, all I have to do is touch the top of the silicone, and I say, that's not even an inch yet. So I'm going to mix some more up and put it in there. So I mixed up some more. I'm going to pour some in here. Now I'll start the rest in here. Someone asked me, how thick do you mix your plaster? And I'm trying to think of a good way of explaining it. Little thinner than pancake batter is how one person described it. And I thought, that makes sense. Now I'll let this sit for a couple hours. Let the plaster get nice and hard. And then we'll take it apart. And we'll have some ear molds. Alright. Our molds are done. They went hot. Now they're cold. And you can tell when a mold is done if you take your nail and scratch and you don't scratch the plaster. That also is a good sign that it's cured all the way. Nice mold. The clay piece is sticking out right here. Put your thing in there and gently pry it loose. There we go. Came apart. There she is. Gorgeous. My little bleed holes looking good. Slowly Lift it up. Gorgeous, gorgeous. All right. All right, our molds are out. I cleaned the clay out. Now we're going to lift this up. Sometimes it lifts up well. You just got to pinch it, or you just take your tool and you kind of push it in there. You don't have to worry about damaging your clay or anything because you've already casted it. So you just can, just on the edges, just kind of lift it up a little bit, just to lift it away, and slowly pry it out. Sometimes the ear comes out. Most time it stays in the mold like that, which is okay. Now you can clean all this clay off. If this was plaster, this piece, I would be using a wooden tool right now because it does scratch the plaster. But since this is my plastic resin, the reproduction plastic, it's a little more durable and it doesn't scratch as easy. To get the clay out of your silicone, gently push it away. What doesn't come out, what we do is we will use naphtha there too and pull it out. Now to clean up our ears, I got some naphtha. I just basically coat the ears with it, which softens the clay, and then you can go by in a little bit and scrub them down. For these, you just pour it in there, let it work its way through, and that will clear them up too. And I often take a 1-inch, cheap brush, and that's what I use for scrubbing. See, that ear cleaned up really quick. Wear gloves, of course. Get a paper towel, wipe the ear down, and this one too. Go ahead. Wipe it down, set it aside to dry. Now you can take this one, slowly go ahead and just push that clay around in there. It will take it out. I like to pour some of that out so I can see what I'm doing. Pour a little cleaner stuff in there just to clean it out better. Out. Look in there, inspect it if you want. Just bend it over, you can see pretty well. Take a paper towel, go ahead and try and get that naphtha out of there. So then you got a nice clean mold. One done. Now I'm going to start this one. Okay, we are ready to cast.
If you want to learn more about special effects makeup, please watch the next video in this series by effects artist Tom Jensen, and subscribe to Egghead FX.
So it creeps nice and slow. Oh, gorgeous ear.